Oh, this is so good. Hey guys, this evening in the house with us, James, Jaded Soul and Joy Music. Hey guys, people may interact, you know, occasionally or have a question or whatever. But I listened to your music lately and I'm pretty impressed also with your label. So I'm curious to get to know you more about your music.
Yeah, no, it's good, good. Hopefully I can enlighten you.
So James, let's dive in to your history, where you were born, grew up, and your first getting in touch with music in general.
Yeah, so I was born in London, 1979. Grew up out in the countryside, grew up away from the city. I had a cousin that was of the age to go out, and he'd come back from these parties, and I'd be this little lad, like sitting there listening to all these stories and everything and stuff like that. So a few of my friends clubbed together and managed to buy two decks, and then we started to buy records and just experiment with trying to be DJs about the age of 12. So yeah.
So you were playing with the vinyls, or perhaps it still was vinyls, right? Not CD.
It was all vinyl then. I started buying records in about 1994. We had a local record shop outside of London at the time, and we were just little lads, like with paper round money, you know, like pocket money and stuff like that. Waiting right to the very end when they'd all left to be able to buy a couple of records and stuff like that. And sort of me and a friend, we got a bit disheartened with it, and we was like, right, where can we get the best music from? And I was like, let's go to London. There's bound to be stuff in London like that.
Of course.
Yeah, so we got the train and we started going to Black Market Records and Unity Records back then. This is about sort of 95, 96 time, and got hold of records, and then just started throwing our own little parties and stuff, you know, like at village halls and stuff like that. Couldn't mix, we just had a good time, was having fun, so yeah, it's good.
Like you were 12 when you started with the DJing and so on, right? With your decks and so on.
Yeah, I know. I heard a friend of mine mix two records together, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. Yeah. So.
And how did you progress then? 12, you were trying and so on. So when did you first play for an audience?
So yeah, we just used. As I said, we used to run small parties, basically the equivalent of a youth club, you know, somewhere that had no bar, because we weren't old enough to drink or anything like that. I looked a very young 16, so I struggled to sneak into clubs as such. But there was sort of local. There was a pub that had a function hall on the back, and the owner used to let us drink in there underage. He shouldn't have really, and please drink responsibly and all that. But he basically gave me my first residency, and I had to play on a Sunday in the pub every Sunday, and then so if I did that five weeks, every 5 weeks I was allowed to have the function hall at the back to run a party. So that was the deal, and I was lucky enough to have a club promoter come down to one of the parties, and he was like, I really like what you're doing, really like what you're up to, and he gave me first slot at a club night. Okay. And kind of that's when it really took off for me. A really good friend of mine called Grant is the guy that did it, and he runs an event called Epidemic, which is nowadays is a much more of an old school rave sort of thing they do. But yeah, he just started getting into London, so I got dragged along with the journey, so to speak. So
What was your coolest gig, or what is the gig you say like that was, oh my God, my best?
I think for me it was the anything that was running at the Bagley's in London, which sadly now is not a venue anymore. I think they've redeveloped the area, and there is sort of a few music things that go on down there, but it just used to be such it was heaped in history, and anything that went on down there was just really, really good. And I was lucky enough. I never used to play in the main arena, but I was lucky enough once to play in the main arena because another DJ didn't turn up, and that was when I was like, yeah, this is good.
Okay. Oh, do you still DJ till today, or like?
Yes. Yes. So I had a bit of a hiatus from the whole thing, from sort of about, I don't know, 2005 onwards, and then I sort of got back into the whole thing in 2010. Okay. When I felt I came back into it in 2010, I needed to reinvent myself a little bit. So I went under the alias Thomas Lee for a little while, and it didn't really work. And then then Jaded Soul was born sort of out of that. But I suppose from about 2016, I've started DJing out a lot again. Obviously, we've had the lockdown, but probably last weekend was my first weekend off since the 19th of July. So Freedom Day. So yeah. Definitely back out and about playing. So yeah.
Oh, great. And your name is Jaded Soul, and that's your like DJ artist name. Yeah. Now let's go to your productions, because that's also something I learned about you. You got the record label NJoy Music, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go back to history when you started off with productions and how it came that you came to productions anyways.
So I had a friend of the family that was a producer back in like late 80s, early 90s. So I'd go up into London and I'd go to his studio and I'd sit there in awe of the whole setup and just make the sounds being made and samples being used. And I was like, again, I wanted to do that. I was really determined to do that. I left it alone. It didn't really. I understood that it was a bit complicated when I was DJing and stuff. All I really cared about was DJing and buying records. And someone had said to me a few years previous, if you want to get anywhere in the scene, you need to make music. And I remember one Christmas, I just decided to lock myself away, and I brought Ableton, and I thought, right, I'm just going to try and see what happens. And that's what I've done for the last 10 years. I've just used Ableton and developed. About 2015, I had a track released under Thomas Lee. I got that right, and then it took me probably another 3 years to start getting things right again. I'd say now I'm halfway all right. I know what I'm talking about.
What was the reason for Ableton?
Well, someone said that Ableton at the time was the easiest to like just make mashups and stuff like that. So, and it just, I think I had Logic for about a month, and I just couldn't get on. I couldn't get on with it, and I just found Ableton just that bit easier to navigate. So, and that's always the bit of advice I give to anyone that asks me, "Oh, I want to get into production. What should I use?" And I say to them, all of the doors are pretty much the same. Just pick one and stick with it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. No, that's my bit of worldly advice there.
What are you working on at the moment, and what would you like to show us? And
yeah, so I've just finished a remix that's for one of my artists on my label.
So may I ask you to share the screen with us? And
Yeah,
show
right.
us?
Hold on. I do try and have a bit of general housekeeping and just name bits and bobs. I've only really used the vocal and the vocal, really. Everything else I've put my own elements in. Yeah, there's a bit of piano I've added myself, and some chords I've added myself, etc., etc. Yeah, sorry, hold on.
Ah, yeah. Sometimes it's that's the live problem. You can't really hear it perfectly.
Yeah.
But you can get a feel of it. You can get a feel of it. And how do you build your piece up? How do you start? Have you got like a start which you use regularly? You know, how do you build up your pieces and so on?
Got a great bit of advice that I give it. It's like a golden hour. So if I'm not feeling something in an hour, then it's not going to work. Is the way I look at it. I can tell by putting the elements, the kick, and normally try and get the drums first off, really. If you get any good house music track, the drums are most important, you know, it's the groove of the track. I can tell in that hour if I'm feeling it, and then it's a go from there. And normally, like, I can get to a point where I'm ready to arrange it within another hour. So I've got everything I need within 2 hours, really, you know.
Like, how do you handle the mixing mastering part? Are you outsourcing the mastering part, or do you master yourself?
This is quite a good question. I personally have got to a point where I feel I can master that. So I do a lot of my own mastering, but I do outsource it sometimes. Yeah. So in 2019, we started bringing on artists. First artist on the label was a guy called Electric Swordfish from Wales. A really nice guy, and then we had a lot of people wanting to come on board. The best bit of advice that person gave me, he said to me, "Put your label first before your own career, because." Yeah. If you do that, it will be a success. If you try and make it all about you, it won't be. So I put the label first. And he said, you will get pulled along by the wave of that. I enjoy managing the artists in the sense of the label, on the label side of it, and just developing them and helping them get the music out there. It's really good. Yeah.
How are you helping the artist? It's a personal interest of me. How can you help, and what is the process of that?
I mean, obviously we go this on all the majors, Beatport, Tracksource, which is obviously really important for the dance music DJs, because that's where they want their music out. Then obviously we go through the streaming platforms as well, Spotify, etc.
Have you got like a vision or a great goal where you say, like, that's my vision, that's where I want to go to?
I'd just like us to continue on the trajectory we're on. You know, I've got another 5 or 6 new artists to bring on next year that I'm really, really excited about. You know, good music, that's what we're just trying to put out there. Yeah.
Beautifully said, and I appreciate what you do for yourself and the musicians out there. Well, promo, that's something I do in every chat, guys. A little merch in between the cup and the music. If you want to buy this wonderful music cup, it's a music cup, cassette and so on, it's available on the rulesfitness.shop store.
Get over there and buy that mug, lads. 11A, you need to buy one of them.
Oh, James, can I hire you for my merch? Thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you. And till soon, I would say. We're going to keep in touch.
Yeah, we'll do. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Same to you. Thank you. And thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.